Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great day and another episode of Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook. We do have Kelly Cook with us. Kelly, what was the last video that you recorded aside from these podcasts?
Oh, you know what is it was a video on Desert Mountain Country Club here in Scottsdale, actually. And it's gonna be probably published tomorrow.
Okay.
So
I know that
take.
I know that you've been guys, I'm just coming up with these questions like as I ask. I'm trying to catch Kelly off guard on all of these first questions. So he had a great answer right away. He knew exactly what it was. For those of you who don't know, I know that we've talked about it a little bit here and there about how Kelly has made it a goal of his to really get into YouTube more, start creating more video content. And he's been doing a really, really good job with that. So if you need any inspiration, definitely go check out his stuff. Is living in Phoenix, or what is your YouTube channel?
Everything Phoenix.
Everything Phoenix. Go check that out. If you are trying to get into video, need some inspiration, Kelly has done a great job this year. It's been one of his goals. Speaking of that, we also have a guest today. We have Cody Steck with Real Broker here with us today. He's out of Salt Lake in Utah, Salt Lake City, and he knows a thing or two about YouTube as well. So that's kind of his thing that he really dug into in his career and is doing a wonderful job with that. So today that's what we're talking about. Videos, YouTube. I know it's a hot topic. Everybody wants to get on YouTube. If you're not doing video, you should be. And hopefully we can offer a little insight into how you get started with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cody, thank you very much for coming on here, man. I really appreciate it. I know your time's valuable, dude. And I know you're killing it in YouTube. And so I'm going to learn something today, and I know our viewers will too as well. So I appreciate that. But I think this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, but it's a topic that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts too, especially in real estate, because I don't know about you, man, but I think like over the last couple of years, it's been really put front and center. And so now a lot of people understand that it's kind of like the ante now to the poker table. You have to at least be doing some type of video, something, right? And so the ones that are going to do obviously better are the ones that are going to be consistent at it, right? And invest in it a little bit, right? And all that fun stuff. But I want to hear from you today and figure out, kind of what is behind your goal, not just with YouTube, but also real estate in general, and kind of go from there. So without further ado, let's jump in. If you don't mind, just give us a little background about who Cody Steck is, right? How'd you get to be where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, went through the typical middle-class childhood, but always felt the need to kind of succeed at a higher level than just getting an average 9-to-5 job and making the median income. And I don't know, I didn't know what that looked like, but a couple of years out of high school, I was just working at a go-kart racetrack, actually, while going to the local community college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Was going to get a finance degree. And then kind of realized, well, what happens when I get a finance degree? Where do I go from there? Do I go banking? Do I go something else? I don't know, right? And so I got 2 years into that, and then just eventually decided actually that I wanted to buy my first place. So I was 21. I purchased a townhome in a rough part of town. It was nothing fancy or anything like that, but everybody around me saying, "Hey, you're 21. Why are you buying a house already?" And I said, "I don't know. It just sounds like something like I want to do, right?" So I went ahead with that. And actually just really loved the process of going through that purchase, right? And one thing that I noticed is right off the bat, there was, I made that first mortgage payment, and at 21, I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and that first mortgage was like half my income, right? And I was like, wow, this kind of sucks. So I actually decided to get some roommates to help cover that cost, and kind of fell into that whole investing thing where I figured out, hey, if I actually just moved back in with my mom, who I was living with before purchasing that place, I could actually be making some money here, $200 a month or something. And at that time I was only making $2,000 a month. So maybe 2,500. So it was, $200 was a good chunk of change at that point. So that kind of got me in the investment world. I actually went down that investment path, trying to look at rental properties and how to flip properties and wholesale and all that stuff. And then eventually just decided, hey, real estate's kind of cool. Let me get in and start selling real estate. It's a great way to earn income. It's a great way to be in front of the market and to continue to, find these deals first. Because especially in my market, you have to be one of the first people to find the deal in order to get something that's going to make you money. And so I just got my license, started selling, jumped around from team to team. And then, I shouldn't say jumped around from team to team. I was on 2 different teams, then went out on my own, started building my own team, decided that building the team wasn't the thing I wanted to do. It was, just not for me. And eventually just went back out on my own. I've been doing it for 8 years now. And the last 3 years have been YouTube specific. So actually about 3.5 years. I started in September of 2019. So it was about 6 months before the whole COVID thing. And as soon as that hit, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it really benefited my business, and it's been really good the last few years.
Dude, that's awesome. Okay. So, the finance degree, that's interesting to me, right? Like, so just out of curiosity, when you started thinking about it or researching, what'd you find out was the path if you were to get that finance degree for you, at least, or what people were telling you?
Well, that was the thing. I didn't really know which direction to go. I mean, I'm a pretty analytical guy, so I like numbers. I like spreadsheets. I'm pretty good with money in general, managing money and whatnot. So I figured, hey, this might be the path. Maybe I'll go into banking. I have no idea what that looks like. I didn't even know what an investment banker is or anything else. But I eventually, just kind of got to the point where I decided that I didn't really know what that path was, and so decided not to pursue it.
Got it. So what I did, it's interesting. A story about that real quick. Agent on my team, was kind of floundering a couple years ago, and he goes, "You know what? I think I'm going to go back and get my MBA." And I go, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Like, I'm never going to discourage that, but why?" And he said, "Well, I think I want to do like financial, analytics, like for like an oil company, oil and gas, and maybe I'll move to Texas." I'm like, "Oh, okay, specific, right?" So I dug a little deeper, and couldn't find out. He didn't really know necessarily what it was that he wanted to do, but he had started the process of getting his MBA and spending some money now that he really didn't have, right, just to do this. But the reality was, I give him some advice, guys. And if someone's listening to this, I thought it was pretty good advice. I just kind of made it up at the time. But the advice was, what I would do if I were you to make sure that that's what you want to do, as opposed to stay in real estate, where like you just said, Cody, there's so many different paths and doors that can open. As I said, why don't you buy a flight on your spring break, right? His spring break was coming up for his college, whatever. I said it was MBA. And I said, fly down to one of these companies that you think you might want to work for that does this, and ask the dude that you think you want to be one day, and for a day, and see what his quote unquote job is like. Yeah. And maybe that will give you some insight as to it's not what I thought it would be, or maybe it's better. I don't know. Right. And it's funny, dude, because he never took my advice and didn't do that. He was kind of pot committed. So he stayed with it, did his 2-year MBA, got it, and then never went in the business and got out of real estate. Right. And now he's like, and I think he's trying to do, mortgages or whatever. Right. So it's just like, it's like, man, like but really what it was an excuse not to stay with the quote hard sales part. When we build this business, you're building the first 2-3 years are not that easy, right? And then it should get easier if you do it the right way, right? So that was interesting. So when he said that, that's the first thing that came to my mind, was that story. Is like, man, whatever it was, you got some good advice and you figured it out. That wasn't what you should do, even though they may have been the easier thing to do. So I commend you for that, man, definitely. And then you mentioned here, you started house hacking, huh? So basically you're moving back with mom while you're have a little investment property. Did you parlay that into another one then?
Yeah, so I never did end up moving back in with my mom. I just ended up staying there and just basically paid $200 for my share of the mortgage, and I paid the utilities. So I was living in this place, kind of on my own. I still had roommates, but I was living there for $300-$400 a month for the first couple of years. And then I found an off-market property. I bought that, rented out the basement, house hacked that, and ended up selling that one about a year after, and purchased a triplex to, again, house hack, lived in one unit, kept the other 2 rented, and have just picked up a couple properties along the way. And then, eventually that very first townhome, this is the power of real estate. That very first townhome I bought tripled in value. I bought it at a pretty good time. It was 2014. And in 2021, I ended up doing a 1031 exchange, rolled it into 2 different duplexes, and took $200,000 in equity and turned it into $500,000. just from holding this one property. So yeah, it turned out to be a really good thing.
Dude, hey, Elizabeth, we might have to have him back on another podcast about
For
investing in real estate,
yeah,
right?
which I was going to say, it is so funny, just real quick, because I know we want to get into YouTube, but the amount of successful people that have been on this podcast, or that I've met working with a lot of agents and you know, successful people, they always, and Kelly, you have a similar story, always starts off with a story of owning a home very young, like very young in your early 20s, and kind of seeing the power of that and what that can do for you, and what an investment that is. So it's just so interesting to me that literally just time after time you hear, like when I'm speaking with these successful people that have done really great in their careers and everything, it starts off a lot of the time with buying a home very young and kind of doing good things with that, right? And kind of turning that into something else. So I just thought that was a really interesting parallel that I've seen so many times before.
Totally.
Yeah.
Success leaves clues, right? So guys, hopefully you just heard what she said, man. It's very true. Okay. So YouTube, let's jump in, because I know a lot of people want to hear about this. So guys, I don't want to speak for, too much here for Cody, but like, I know he runs several different channels. And so I have a couple questions about that, but he's in Salt Lake City. You're in Salt Lake City, but you have St. George, and now you're about to open up Park City, right? In terms of YouTube channels. Could you talk to us about why YouTube for you, and then, the strategy that you have with it? And I guess we'll dive in from there.
Yeah. So I actually got started with YouTube not for real estate purposes. I actually just was looking for some type of a creative outlet. I was kind of in a downtime of life, and just was like, hey, I need something creative that I can do that's kind of fun. And believe it or not, I'm not actually like a super creative guy. I've just kind of forced myself to get into this role of getting better. That's something that's a big part of this, is just getting better over time, learning and going through the process. Nobody's going to be perfect. I would like to say that I was starting below average as far as creativity with this, but just wanted to start making videos talking about business, finance, just kind of general topics, whatever I was interested in. And actually, as part of a mastermind that I'm in, somebody had mentioned, hey, how do we do video? Video is kind of just like starting to get popular. I mean, video has always been around, but just kind of getting popular in 2019 for real estate agents. And so I thought, hey, why don't I just make a parallel channel to what I was already doing and start making content about my local area? And that's what I did. So for the first 3 years, I just ran the one channel here in Salt Lake City. Of course, I'm still doing it. That's my main system. But then along the way, opened up St. George. That's been going for about a year now, and actually just ended up partnering with somebody to help run that. Right. So I do all the videos, I do the editing, I do the posting, I do all of the initial contacts with the leads that come through on that. And then once I've made contact with somebody, I hand them off to my business partner, and then we just split it right down the middle. So that's been a really effective thing for me. I probably don't recommend that for most people in the beginning. It's a lot of work. But for me, it just kind of made sense. St. George is a popular area. I saw opportunity there. It's about 4 hours from me, so I couldn't even really work that area, even if I wanted to. And so it kind of made sense to go that route.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you about that, because I know that, I'm not an expert in Utah, but I know like that's not that close to Salt Lake, right? St. George, 4 hours away. So
yeah.
Would you only recommend probably doing that if you had someone you could trust that's down there, right? Boots on the ground?
Yeah, it really depends on what type of person you are, right? If you're somebody who likes to work in the trenches, you like working with clients, you want to be doing that, then I'd recommend just going with one channel, do everything yourself, and be that person. However, if you're not, maybe you really like making videos, maybe you are more of that creative type who has a knack for it, can get good quality videos, and you enjoy that half of it, then by all means, you can run a channel and have success and have somebody else handle all the real estate. I've actually got a friend out of Austin who's doing that exact thing. He's licensed, but he has teamed up with somebody in his market. And my friend, he does all of the videos, all the editing, all of the, marketing, whatever. He's kind of doing the lead generation. And then once somebody comes in, he just hands them off to his partner, and they split it there as well. So it can work in your own local market if you want to go that route. It just depends on what you like to do. Of course, if you do it all by yourself, you get to keep the whole pie. But, sometimes you can maximize your efforts by just focusing on one thing.
Yeah, definitely. Different ways to skin a cat. So Cody, how many videos when you first started, let's say either one really, Salt Lake or St. George, but how many videos did you do for Salt Lake, right? Let's say, until you received your first lead.
Man, that's a great question. I started in September. I got my very first lead on January 1st. And during that time, I was probably doing about 2 to 3 videos per week. So I was probably, I don't know, let's say 2.5 times 4 weeks. That's 10. I probably did about 30 videos, I guess, before I got my very first lead. And after I got that very first one, it was, funny enough, that very first person who contacted me ended up purchasing a couple months later. And it was the biggest deal I'd ever done up until that point. It was a veterinarian out of the East Coast. He was moving here. He just accepted a job, bought a $1.2 million home, which is the biggest deal I'd ever done up until that point. And very first lead, so it was after that, it was kind of gangbusters. It just took off and started to see a lot of success.
Okay. So speaking of success, then that's an awesome story, by the way. What would you recommend to somebody who's wants to do this or is doing this to continue that success? So you got a big lead close, got your first lead 4 months into it or whatever. How'd you maintain that momentum? What do you have to do?
The thing is, the people who contact me, especially through the last couple of years, a lot of them have been relocation. So I've kind of doubled down on that, focusing on people moving in from out of state, because a lot of people are actually searching for information about the city, any city, no matter where you are, if they're thinking about moving there or even just purchasing a second home, maybe a vacation home or a beach home, something like that, right? So regardless of what market you're in, you can find success making videos about that. And really it's hard to kind of pinpoint like, okay, how do you keep building on that momentum other than just saying the obvious of keep making videos, keep getting better, get a better camera, get better background, get better lighting, better microphone, and go through that process of just continuing to get better and make a higher quality production. And, just trust in the process.
Got it. Okay. Are there any courses out there? Do you run a course, or are there any courses out there that you'd recommend someone to do? Or is it kind of just like, hey, there's a few checklists to do and items like keywords, tags, and just make sure you get those right? Or a service that you use, like, I don't know, TubeBuddy or what's it, VidIQ?
Yeah. I use TubeBuddy. I don't use the other one, VidIQ. There are courses out there. There's lots of people who'd love to sell you one. I was one of those people once upon a time, and then just decided, what, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be the course guy. So I kind of gave up on that and no longer do it. I just teach a class within Reel once a month, talking about YouTube, talking about my best practices. It's a 1-hour thing. It's totally free. But yeah, there's a lot of courses out there. I think that really you just need the basics, listening to a podcast like this, or listening to, if you just type in YouTube for real estate agents on YouTube, you're going to find a handful of videos that are going to get you enough information to get started.
That's like the Matrix, right? YouTube being that for YouTube, right? That's that's awesome. Okay. So now you're in St. George, 4 miles away. You got Salt Lake and you're doing Park City. Now I've been to Park City a couple of times. Beautiful. Yeah. And so you're right. Like we were talking and you were saying it's about 40 minutes away or so, different demographic. But what are the reasons? Like, why not, since it's 40 minutes away and you could service it if you wanted to, why not make it as part of your main channel as opposed to a new channel? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wanted to go with a separate channel because it's an entirely different demographic of who's going to be purchasing in Park City. Our median price in Salt Lake, which is where I'm at, we consider it the Wasatch Front. That's kind of everything west of the Wasatch Mountains, which is your main metro area. Median price is about $500,000, whereas the median price in Park City is about $1.5 million. So prices there are significantly more expensive, and it's going to be a different demographic, right? There's lots of second homes there, lots of third homes, fourth homes, people with a lot of money who are purchasing in those markets, and it's kind of a good old boys club up there. You get a lot of agents who've been in the business for 30, 40 years. They don't really like it when the new guy comes in. So I'm hoping to disrupt that a little bit. And, just expand in that market, but it's a completely different lifestyle. It's a different demographic. The people who are looking there are looking for different reasons, right? They're looking for a $3 million ski house, not necessarily a $500,000 home to live in so they can work their job, right? So it's just a totally different market. And that's why I decided to go separate with it rather than combine it into one.
Okay. So I just have a couple more questions here, Elizabeth, but the question on that same one, Cody, is along that same lines. Are you going to link those two channels together with your homepage or videos with links back to Salt Lake back to Park City? Or do you think that's disruptive when it comes to the YouTube algorithm?
Yeah, specifically for, I'm not going to link them together. I may make a mention of it in the video at some point, like, hey, on my Salt Lake channel, I might say, hey, just so you know, we just released a video, or we just released a channel about Park City. You can go over and check it out. Just type in living in Park City or whatever I decide to name it, and then my name, and you'll be able to find it. So I might give kind of a little shout out like that, but I'm not going to really be linking it anywhere, except for the one place I might link it is on my Salt Lake channel. In years past, I have done a couple of Park City specific videos. So I may actually just go in there, write a comment, make it the pinned comment so it shows up right at the top. Like, hey, if you want more information specific to Park City, click this link. It'll take them over to the channel. And that's one thing that's really important. It's not going to take them to a specific video, but rather to the channel, so they can check out the channel first, see if they're interested. And then if they are, then they can click on the video of their choice.
Okay. Good point. Elizabeth, did you have a question?
I do, actually.
Fire away.
One question that I have that you kind of hit on a little bit ago, but a lot of your leads that are coming from there are relocations, right? Because that's why they're looking things up on YouTube. They want to know about the city. They want to know about what's happening in the market because they're not there. And so do you ever get listings coming from your YouTube channel, or is it pretty much out-of-state buyers coming in? What does that kind of look like?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I am very heavy buyer. I've had a couple of listings that have come from my YouTube channel, maybe 2 or 3 to be totally honest, but that's because I've doubled down on relocation and have kind of taken that approach of like, hey, if you're looking to buy or you're moving in from out of state, reach out to me. And that's kind of been the niche that I've gone after, because I think that's where the biggest opportunity was. However, it doesn't have to be that way, right? You can actually get yourself into a position where you can capitalize on the local market. And really that extends to just about anything. There's a guy out of, I think he's in Orange County in California, and he talks about like investment stuff, right? It's strictly just investment, real estate. Here's what you need to know. I think he does mostly commercial as well. So it's like retail, warehouses, storage units, multifamily housing, et cetera. And I mean, he crushes it. He gets some really big buyers from really big sellers who are interested in that type of thing, because that's his little niche. You've also got somebody like Ken Pozek, also with Real, out of Orlando, and he dominates, talking about his local market. I would guess that at least half of his viewers are local to, maybe even more, maybe 3/4 are local to Orlando. And I'm sure he's getting lots of listings and buyers from those videos.
That's kind of where you focus your content, like what kind of stuff you're talking about, and where you choose to focus is probably good to choose kind of one or the other, or like a specific niche to focus in on. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I recommend going for the higher price points as well. I've noticed that if you put out videos about higher price points, people start to associate that and say, oh, Cody's that $1 million house guy. He knows what's going on in the luxury market. I'm going to reach out to him. And, same thing. I think there's a tendency to say, hey, look how cheap this home is. It's a great house for $300,000. Well, if you advertise that, you're going to start picking up $300,000 buyers, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. Right. But if you're going to do the work anyway and put in the time, every single agent out there would rather work with the $1 million buyer.
No doubt. I totally agree with that. It's good advice. And I think also when it comes to the strategy for buyers versus sellers, I think a lot of that has to do with the psychological behavior of how a buyer behaves, right? Like most times buyers will go onto the web, right? The internet, right? The good old internet to start the search. And so they might go to YouTube, right? Or go to Google, which then pushes them to YouTube. Whereas a seller, when they're going to start the process, a lot of times they'll start looking for a home to buy first, right? That's how it kind of works, when it should be sometimes the other way around. But they'll do that, or they might go to their friends and ask for referrals, that sort of thing, right? As opposed to starting online. And so I think it's smart, especially if you're going to start a YouTube channel, to start with the keyword phrases that are going to get the most hits, most search terms. Yeah. Which is going to be naturally relocation and buy side. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, smart, absolutely. One other thing that just popped in my head is Brad McCallum. I'm sure you guys know him. Yep. I think he does a lot of listings, and he picks up a lot of listings because of the high quality video tours that he does, right? If he shows off a $3 million house and does a fantastic 15 to 20 minute video, he's going to attract other people who are trying to sell a expensive home,
At
right?
that level.
They want that same level of quality, right? And so no matter which way you approach it, everything will work. That's one thing that I always talk about with real estate. Just like everything will work, right? If you do open houses all day long, if you're the best person at doing open houses, you're going to get business from it. Same thing with door knocking, cold calling, for sale by owners, expireds, mailers, you know, like if you do it enough, you'll get good at it and you'll get business.
So true. Love that. All right, Cody, what book are you reading right now? I see some books behind you there on the shelf.
Yeah. I've got a couple books. I'm not reading any of those, actually. Those are just to look at.
Just for show.
Sorry, a little camera reset there. What book am I reading right now? Lately, I've been reading a lot of non-real estate related books. There's a good one, $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy. He talks about how to craft an offer that's so good that people can't say no to it. And it kind of just goes behind the science, or rather the psychology of how to create offers that people can't say no to, right? So he was in the gym business and, you know, talked about, hey, when somebody wants to go sign up for a gym membership, they don't really want to go to the gym. What their ultimate goal is to either work out and get huge or to exercise and lose weight, right? So he started focusing on that. Hey, you're guaranteed to lose weight. Here's how we're going to do it. You're going to get this free plan. You're going to get this. You're going to get this. You're going to get this. And if you don't, we'll give you 100% of your money back, right? Such a good offer that you can't say no. And so that's one thing I've been reading recently. And then I do a lot of podcasts, actually.
Love that, dude. Love it. All right. So last but not least, we always ask everyone who joins our podcast here, what's one actionable item someone could do, or you would suggest someone should do in the next week that's small enough they can at least start the process of starting this thing to help their business take off for 2023?
Yeah. The one thing that I would recommend is that if you're looking to get into YouTube and you want to go down that route, just because that's what we talked about here today, take your phone. You can go into the corner of your office, sit in front of the window, hold it up in front of you, put it on a tripod, whatever you have to do, and just shoot a video, right? Start with something easy, right? Pros and cons. Talk about the pros for the market or to your area. Talk about the cons to your area. No place is perfect, so there's going to be a list for both. Put together a list. It should only take you 10 minutes, and you just have to do it. I think a lot of people get hesitant around creating videos. They want it to be perfect. They want it to be presentable. They want it to be this high quality production, but they forget that you're here to sell real estate. You're not here to create this Hollywood movie, right? So just film yourself, the camera on your phone and the audio on your phone for your first video is going to be just fine. Over time, you're going to get better. You're going to start getting higher quality equipment. You're going to get better at speaking and how you present yourself. But most importantly, just show off who you are, because that's what's really going to attract people to you and separate you from other people in your market who are doing something similar. So
love that.
I don't know. They have like a super actionable tip other than just start your first video.
Make a video. Yeah.
Just make the video. Like, it's going to suck. You're going to look back. I look back at the very first couple of videos I did, and they're hard to watch, because they're just so bad. And that's just reality, right? And you get better over time. And but still, even those very first few videos I made, they're still getting views today, despite the poor quality and, my awkwardness on camera. So it works.
Totally agree. Mic drop.
All right. Well, Cody, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, have any questions, or, go to your YouTube channel and check it out,
Sure.
Where can they do that?
Yeah. So if you just type in living in Salt Lake City on YouTube, you should see my face pop up on hopefully a couple of those thumbnails that show up right at the top of the page. I think I've got, a couple of them at least right at the top. And so that would be one way. You can follow me on Instagram if you want, at Utah Real Estate _. And that's probably the best way, actually.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Cody, for coming on. I think this was very helpful for a lot of people because, like I said, and Kelly said, we all know video is becoming, if not already, it's the way that people want to consume content. If they're going to be consuming content anyway, might as well be yours and about real estate, right? So thank you so much. And Kelly, as per the usual, if anybody wants to talk to you about what you're doing with your YouTube channel or, investing, any other stuff that we've talked about here, where can they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. Always text, call 480-227-2028 and check it out. Everything Phoenix on YouTube.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect too, because we're going on YouTube here. So
yeah, perfect. And Guys, don't forget, if you are looking to build a real estate team this year, please go to buildyourrealestateteam.com. Kelly has laid out the full kind of step-by-step guide on what to do and what not to do to get that rolling. Other than that, we will see you guys all next week. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thanks a lot. Cody, appreciate it.
Thanks, Cody.
Thanks a ton.
Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.